Every single year, on the exact same day, millions of people around the world do something strange. They lie, they trick, they prank, and somehow it's totally acceptable. But here's what nobody tells you. Historians have absolutely no idea where this day came from. Over 100 years of serious academic research, scholars, folklorists, historians, all of them digging through ancient texts and medieval records, and the answer? Still a mystery. April Fool's Day is celebrated across the English-speaking world and beyond, but pinning down exactly when, where, and why it started, that's where things get murky. What we do know is this. The holiday has existed in some form since at least the 1500s. That's over 600 years of pranks, tricks, and foolishness. Historians have narrowed it down to three main theories, one from medieval England, two from France, and buried underneath all of them, something far, far older. Let's go through each one. Theory number one takes us all the way back to 1390, to one of the greatest English writers who ever lived, Geoffrey Chaucer. In his famous work, The Canterbury Tales, Chaucer wrote a story called The Nun's Priest's Tale. It's a fable about a rooster named Chanticleer and a sly fox who try to outwit each other. Now here's where it gets interesting. Chaucer wrote that the pranks in the story happened, quote, 32 days after the beginning of March. 32 days after March 1st. Do the math. That's April 1st. Could this be the earliest written reference to April Fool's Day? Maybe, but here's the problem. Some scholars believe that number was a typo, a mistake made by a medieval scribe copying Chaucer's original work by hand. One wrong numeral and suddenly a 600-year-old holiday theory falls apart. So, England is a maybe. Let's head to France. In France, April 1st has its own name, Poisson d'Avril, which literally translates to April fish. The tradition, sneak up behind someone and tape a paper fish to their back without them noticing, then yell Poisson d'Avril when they finally discover it. It sounds ridiculous, but the French have been doing this for centuries. And there's actual evidence for it. A French poet named Eloy de Merval wrote a poem in 1508 called Book of Deviltry. Yes, that's really the name, and in it he referenced an April fish. Now this could mean fish was already a symbol for foolish people in French culture, or it could mean the holiday itself already existed by 1508 and Amerval was just referencing something everyone already knew. Either way, the fish was already swimming. The third theory might be the most logical one, and it starts with a teenage king on a road trip. In 1564, Charles IX, who was only 13 years old at the time, set out on a grand tour of his kingdom. He visited over 100 towns and cities across France, and what he found was chaos. Every region had its own calendar. Every city celebrated the new year on a different date. France was a mess of conflicting traditions. So Charles issued the Edict of Roussillon, a royal order declaring that from that point on, the French New Year would officially begin on January 1st. And then, 18 years later, in 1582, the rest of Catholic Europe adopted the Gregorian calendar, also moving the new year to January. Here's the theory. Not everyone got the memo, or some people just refused to accept the change. These stubborn or simply uninformed people kept celebrating the new year in late March or early April, the way they always had. And what do you do with someone who's still celebrating New Year's on April 1st? You mock them, of course. You send them on fake errands. You give them foolish gifts. You make fun of their calendar. And just like that, the April Fool was born. But even if all three of those theories are wrong, or only partly right, there's something deeper going on here, something far, far older. In ancient Rome, there was a spring festival called Hilaria, celebrated after the vernal equinox. The earliest records we have of it date back to the 3rd century. The festival honored Cybele, the fertility goddess, and it was, by all accounts, absolutely wild. The Roman historian Herodian described it like this. People could disguise themselves as any character they wanted. Noblemen dressed as peasants, peasants acted like emperors. No rank, no status, no rules. One historian called it a, quote, masked carnival marked by licentious behavior. Sound familiar? And Rome wasn't alone. In India, the Hindu spring festival of Holi, celebrated in March, has always included light-hearted tricks and playful chaos. And in Iran, there's Sizda Bedar, celebrated 13 days after the Persian New Year, falling on April 2nd. It's a day of harmless lies and jokes that historians believe dates back to 536 BCE. That's over 2,500 years ago. So after all that, after Chaucer and calendar reforms and Roman carnivals and paper fish, where does that leave us? Folklorist Alan Dundas said it best back in 1988. More than 100 years of scholarship unfortunately added very little to our knowledge and understanding of this curious custom. In other words, we still don't know. And maybe that's fitting. April Fool's Day is, at its core, a holiday built on mystery, on confusion, on the unexpected. So, of course, its own origin story would be a prank. What is clear is this. For thousands of years, humans have looked at spring at the end of cold, dark winter and felt the urge to laugh, to play, to pull one over on their friends. Whether you're an April fish in France, a follower of Cybele in ancient Rome, or just someone who put googly eyes on the office fridge, you're part of a tradition older than most countries on Earth. If you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe. We dive into mysteries like this every week. And if anyone asks why you're watching history videos on April 1st, just tell them it's a prank. Nobody has to know.